Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our gentle yoga class. So, today we are starting on the niyamas, and I have the book here by Deborah Adele, The Yamas and Niyamas, Exploring Yoga's Ethical Practice. And one way she describes at the end of the yamas, she describes, what does she say? Here's like a conclusion of the yamas and niyamas. And she says, let's see here. Yamas or restraints invite us into an adult relationship with the world where we can see past our own needs into the collective good. We can think about them as social disciplines guiding us into harmony, peace, and right relationship with the world. Now we're going to turn our attention to the niyamas, and we move our attention from an adult relationship with the world to an adult relationship with ourselves, from a social focus to an internal focus. So go ahead and find yourself in any kind of comfortable position, maybe seated on a chair or on the floor cross-legged, or maybe even lying on your back. That's my favorite way to start class, in constructive rest pose. Lying on the back, you can step your feet on the mat and then maybe tent your knees together for support. You might even rest your hands along your body or on top of your belly just to feel the rise and fall of your breath. As you begin to settle in, we'll start this internal journey with the first niyama. This one is called Saucha, and it means purity. And I'm chuckling to myself because this morning I've been on a decluttering mission, and probably because I've been listening to the audiobook all about Saucha. Saucha invites us to purify our bodies, our thoughts, and our words. As we purify ourselves physically and mentally, we become less cluttered and heavy. Purification brings about a brightness and a clarity to our essence. As we purify ourselves from the heaviness and clutter of toxins, distractions, and scatteredness, we gain clarity to meet each moment with integrity and freshness. We become more pure with our relationship with each moment. There is a great energy that lies mostly dormant within each of us. This is the energy of consciousness or awakening. Cleaning strengthens the body and insulates the mind, preparing us for the awakening of the energy within us. Cleaning prepares us for the greatness of our spirit. Cleansing lightens us to experience more of the divine mystery. Whatever form purity takes, it always begins with the intention to lighten the load we are carrying. These loads can weigh down the body, mind, and spirit. The guideline of Saucha, purity, invites us to move with ease, to do what it takes to get rid of this heaviness wherever we find it in our lives. In all the ways that we hold on to past wounds, we injure ourselves and keep ourselves from the ability to be pure with what is current in our life. Forgiveness of self and other is the most generous gift we can give to ourselves. So you might contemplate how the intention of purity speaks to you. And then use that guideline to help you set an intention for your practice today, maybe even for the week. We'll get ready for our posture practice, our asana, and our breath practice, our pranayama. So let's start out on the back. If you're seated, maybe you can make your way onto your back. See if you can have a block handy and a strap. And then actually, before you come onto your back, see if you can find either a towel or a blanket close by. If you have a blanket, you might take the blanket and make a small roll. If you don't have a blanket, you could also roll up your mat. So you're basically making a small roll that's going across the mat. This is going to be laying right underneath your heart center. So you can kind of shimmy yourself forward and then lie yourself back. See if that feels good to rest the back of your heart over that little mound roll of the blanket. Maybe you rest your elbows on the blanket. You can walk your feet as wide as the mat. Allow the knees to tent together. This was the pose I was talking about earlier, a constructive rest pose. And just see about relaxing over the blanket roll. Taking some nice deep breaths. You can start to call upon this warrior's breath. We call this ujjayi breathing. By sealing the lips gently, allowing for some space in between the teeth, letting your tongue rest at the roof of your mouth, maybe at that seam between your upper teeth and your upper palate. And maybe you want to soften your gaze or close down your eyes and bring your attention and your focus inward towards your heart center. In the book by Deborah Adele, she refers to the yamas and niyamas as jewels. So can you imagine for a moment, picture what would it look like to have a jewel of Saucha or purity? And then we'll open the arms out into a letter T, or you can cactus them to your sides. Walk your feet as wide as your mat and start to allow the knees to gently fall from side to side. If for any reason the blanket roll doesn't feel good, you can always toss that off to the side Or either that or press into the feet to lift the spine and unroll it, which is what we'll do later. You might make these windshield wiper moves a little larger, allowing the top knee to fall towards the bottom foot. And maybe you begin to turn your gaze from side to side, allowing for a gentle massage along the back from that blanket roll. Take one more nice deep breath on each side, and then we'll come back to center. You can stretch your fingertips wide to the sides and then reach your fingertips up and overhead. Cross the right arm over the top of the left to give yourself a nice big hug and start to rock the torso side to side. Maybe you're finding that your torso is moving up the length of your mat so that the blanket roll is caressing different areas of your spine. You might allow yourself to find stillness once more. Remain for a moment in your hug. You can take your right hand and give your left shoulder a little massage. And then we'll open the arms out wide to the side, form a letter T shape with the arms, and see if you want to imagine giving yourself a nice big hug or sending this hug out to someone special. So this time we'll float the arms up towards the sky, cross the left arm over the top of the right so your left hand finds your right shoulder. And then once more, you can rock the torso a little side to side. Maybe traveling down the length of your mat this time. So your blanket roll is caressing your spine in the opposite direction. And then we'll come back to stillness. And you can take your right hand and give your left shoulder a little massage. And now find a squeeze of that hug, sending out love and appreciation to someone special. And on your next exhale, you can float your arms out wide to the sides. I'm going to remove the blanket now. If you'd like to just leave it underneath you, you can walk your heels in, press into your heels, and then lift your spine to just unroll the blanket. Allow your spine to roll back down one vertebrae at a time. And now let's reach for our strap. So if you have that strap handy, you can reach for it. We're going to take a hand to foot pose. So, oh, my strap is really wrapped in a knot. So, a couple of ways you can do this. If you have a long enough strap that can wrap around your body, you can always loop the strap and then bring it underneath the armpits around the low or around the upper back, and then we'll reach the strap around the right foot, extending the right leg up towards the sky. Of course, if your strap is not long enough for this, you can always just hold on to the strap with both arms. Take a moment while you're here to relax into the shape. And then you might test out if you want to keep your left foot on the mat. This could be a little bit gentler, or you could slide your left leg long. And you can see maybe now why I like this extra long strap, because this allows me to just rest my arms at the sides, thinking about that balance between effort and ease. I believe this one is called Supta Padagustasana, which means hand to foot, and Supta part is us lying on our back. So allow your breath to cascade down the back of the leg. And then feel free to play around here. You can either stay with your leg lengthened, or you might start to draw your foot in, bending at the knee for like a half happy baby. If this feels like a good stretch for the hip. You could also grab onto the foot rather than drawing the strap in. So maybe you hook your hand around your foot instead in a half happy baby. Feel free to rock the baby, rocking the foot a little side to side. And then when you're ready, you can release that foot. Either plant both feet on the mat or extend the legs long. Maybe reach the arm up and overhead, the arms. Go ahead and rotate the wrists and the ankles, taking a nice long body stretch. And we'll rotate them the other way. When you're ready, we're going to come back to the starting position, which is our bridge prep. So you can plant your feet on the mat, walk your heels in, bring your hands down towards your side, and then grab hold of your strap, and we'll lasso the left foot now into the strap. So pressing the left foot up towards the sky. You can wrap the strap around the ball of the foot, and then either hug onto both sides of the strap with your hands, or you can draw your hands all the way down so that your elbows are resting. Or maybe you're able to circle the body with the strap and let go. See if you can visualize your breath extending the length of the back of the leg. And then you have the option to stay right here. Or if you want to make this stretch a little deeper, maybe you want to extend your right leg long. Allowing the right leg to rest on the mat. Feel free to stay right where you're at, or we could turn this into a half happy baby by bending the knee, hugging the left foot in, maybe reaching to grab hold of the left foot. This might be too intense, so feel free to stay in your Supta Padagustasana and just exploring. Give yourself permission to explore. Maybe it would feel good to rock the leg a little side to side. You can always make it again gentler by bringing the right foot back onto the ground. And when you're ready, we'll release the foot. Bring both feet onto the mat, and then see about finding a nice long body stretch. Taking a moment to rotate the wrists and the ankles. As we find this movement, we can know that we're helping to lubricate the joints. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to center. You can bring your feet back up underneath your knees, scoot your strap off to the side, and then from here we'll press into the heels, lift the hips, bump them over to the right, and then land the left hip so that your knees can stack over to the left, finding a nice big twist. Thinking about purity as this cleansing, can we help to wring out anything that we no longer need? Allow yourself to relax into the twist, maybe turning your gaze over towards your right hand, allowing yourself a moment to settle. You can always think about if you'd like to make this twist a little deeper, you could extend your left leg long, allow the right knee to fall towards the earth, but we don't have to go to our absolute edge. You can always back off 10% more. Take one more nice deep breath here, and then we'll unwind from our twist. Come back onto the back, press your feet into the mat, lift your hips, and then just bring your spine back to center. Take a moment to allow yourself to rehydrate from the twist, letting yourself find neutral, taking a pause, and then we'll find the other side. So you can press your heels into the mat, gently lift the hips slightly and bump them over to the left, stacking the knees over to the right, letting the right hip land on the mat. And then you can possibly extend your arms into a T, turn your gaze over towards your left hand. Allow yourself to settle into your twist. Once more, if you want to extend this twist a little bit further, feel free to stretch the right leg long, allow the left knee maybe to curl down towards the mat. See if you can rest your shoulders heavy on the earth in your twist, allowing yourself to back off 10% from that extreme edge. Notice if you can direct your attention and your breath towards any areas of sensation. Take one more nice deep breath here. And with your next inhale, we'll unwind from the twist, land the feet on the mat, press into the heels to lift the hips, find length in your spine, and then just like a string of pearls, allow the spine to roll back down one vertebrae at a time. Take a moment to pause here, letting your body recalibrate towards center. When you're ready, you can either hug your knees in towards your chest, maybe you take a rock and roll up and down the length of your spine, or if you prefer, you can just roll onto one side, oops, and press yourself up into a seat. To come into a comfortable seat, you might take your blanket and fold it up to make a little pillow to sit on. And or you could also take an actual pillow or a bolster to sit upright. And then let's see if we can also have our strap close by. So it can just be helpful when you're seated to help elevate the hips. You can also sit in a chair if you prefer. So once you find your comfortable seat, oops, let me wedge that prop out of the way. Notice what it feels like, how that changes to come and sit upright. And then we're going to take some cat and cows from a seat. Now you could always come onto hands and knees if you prefer. I thought we might do this seated. So go ahead and exhale, round the spine for your cat. Inhale, reach your heart forward for your cow. And go ahead and take a few rounds of cat and cow, following the pace of your own breath. Listen for the sound of your soothing ocean breath, your ujjayi breathing. And then maybe you want to find a nice big circle with the spine. Imagine your belly button is tracing the inside of a hula hoop. Next time your heart comes forward, you might reverse the direction of your circles. Take one more round and then we'll come back to center. From center, you can inhale your arms up towards the sky. Exhale, land your right hand either on the ground or you might use a block. Or if you're seated in a chair, you can always hug onto the side of the chair, however far you'd like to go. And then you can lift your left fingertips up towards the sky and maybe float your gaze upward. On the next exhale, feel free to paint a nice big circle with your fingertips stretching out at a diagonal and then bringing your arm up and around. Maybe you feel this stretch and sensation for the shoulders, for the side of the waist. And if you're moving your gaze around in a circle, you might feel nice sensations through the neck. A little bit of a stretch for the neck. The next time your fingertips lift up, go ahead and lift both arms up. Exhale, we'll draw the hands to meet at the heart center. You can take a moment to just bow your head towards your heart, gazing lovingly back at that intention. If you find that your mind begins to wander towards the future or the past, you can always see if you can notice, draw your attention back to your heart center. What is the focus for your intention? Then we'll lift the gaze, lift the arms, float the left arm either down to a block or the ground, and then reach the right arm up and over. Maybe it's a little different on this side. See if you can notice with kindness and compassion as you lift the gaze upward, reaching towards the heavens, and maybe gazing up. On the next exhale, you can start to draw those nice big circles. Maybe you can use your creative imagination to picture what the circles look like. And you might stretch your gaze along with your hand circles. The next time your hand reaches up towards the sky, you can pause there, reach, 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 and then we'll bring both arms up, coming back to center. Exhale, draw your hands to your heart center. Let's go ahead and give the legs a little break by stretching the legs out into a wide stance, wide V. And then this is one that my friend did in a yoga class before that I really loved. We're imagining you're grabbing a tissue towards each foot. So reach out and grab side to side. A little twist. Maybe you want to speed it up. As my shirt comes out. Okay, we'll come back to center. Give your legs a little love. And then let's feel free to meet up on our bellies. So however you want to get there. A fun way could be to come back into your cross-legged position. And then with a little bit of momentum, you could roll over your shins, if that feels okay. And then spread your feet behind you. But now I'm going to come to the short side of the mat. Let's take a little bit of a plank on our way down. So you might come onto your forearms, keep yourself either on your knees, or you can tuck your toes under, lift your knees, and then just find that little bit of tremble strengthening as you hover your belly for a moment over the earth in a tuck. Whenever you're ready, you can soften onto the belly, walk your feet back, untuck your toes, and then maybe take a moment to stack either your fists or the palms of your hands and rest your forehead into Makrasana, crocodile. Just take a moment to feel the contact your body is making with the earth. And if you prefer child's pose instead, I kind of skip over child's pose because maybe being on the knees is not everyone's favorite. You could also take a rest in child's pose if you prefer, on the knees. Another variation for this one is to bend the knees and allow the heels to gently sway from side to side. Maybe this gives you a nice massage for your belly, your internal organs, some gentle rocking. When you're ready, you can land your feet. We'll draw the elbows underneath the shoulders and come up into our Sphinx pose. Take a moment to roll the shoulders up towards the ears and then glide the shoulder blades down the back, taking a few gentle shoulder rolls. See if you can gather up any tension that might be living in the shoulders and exhale that with the breath. Take one more nice deep breath like that and then pause for a moment in Sphinx, gliding the shoulder blades down the back. And then on the next exhale, you can turn your gaze and peek over your left shoulder. Inhale here and then exhale, release that, turning your gaze back to center. Take a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, you can turn your gaze over your right shoulder. Inhale on the right, and then exhale, turn your gaze back to center. Keeping your gaze fairly low towards the mat and towards the ground, you can go ahead and gently begin to just turn your gaze side to side. When you feel balanced from left to right, we'll come back to center. And once more, return your head down onto your stacked palms or your stacked fists. We're going to play around with locust pose. This is building a little bit of our back strength. So you could keep your hands stacked, or you might slide your arms forward like Superman arms, or alternatively, if that's too much for the shoulders, you could bring the hands towards the hips. On the next inhale breath, we'll lift the heart, maybe float the arms, and float the legs to balance on the belly. Keep a soft gaze towards the front of your mat. And on your next exhale, we'll soften all of your effort. You might turn your gaze to the right and then allow your left temple to kiss the mat. Take a moment to relax all of your effort. Maybe even allow yourself to delight in a time of rest. And then we'll gather our strength, our effort, our will into our center, into our core, our solar plexus. Let's inhale to lift the chest, the arms, float the legs, coming into this flying superhero position. Imagine yourself flying over the earth, gazing down, and then on your next exhale, we'll soften and relax. Maybe this time you turn your gaze to the left and just allow your right temple to touch down onto the mat. Let's go ahead and take locust 2 more times at your own pace. So inhaling to float and fly. Maybe you want to swim your arms forward and then flutter them back. Exhale to soften and relax. Either forehead touches down or the left temple. Softening all of your effort. And we'll take one more round just like this, inhaling to float up in any style that you'd like. And exhaling to soften. See if you can really relax your effort here. And then when you're ready, we're going to plant the palms underneath the shoulders, bring the gaze back to center, and you can press up to downward dog or tabletop or child's pose. Now, if you'd like a supported child's pose, you can also bring a blanket underneath the knees for softness. But another way to sort of build yourself up in child's pose so that you don't have to be all the way onto the earth would be to make a support ramp with a bolster. So I have a block on the medium setting, a block on the low setting, and then I'm laying a rectangular bolster on top, bringing my big toes to touch, my knees open wide, and then allowing your torso to come to rest. Now, it's probably going to be easier to breathe here if you turn your gaze in one direction. And the reason why I kind of have these blocks separated is I'm making space for my arms to hug the pillow. And then turn your gaze to one direction. And when we're halfway through, you can lift your head and turn your gaze in the other direction. So give yourself a moment to soften wherever feels right for you. If you prefer to skip child's pose, come into a down dog, that's fine too. That could be less pressure on the knees. If you're turning your cheek to rest on the bolster, you might pick up your head and turn the opposite direction. And go ahead and take one more nice soothing breath wherever you're at. And then we are going to make our way slowly, gently to standing. So you can move any of your props out of the way. Maybe you use your blocks or the seat of a chair for down dog, or feel free to just step 1 foot forward, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, and you can skip your downward facing dog and come to a forward fold. From here, we'll stack our hands underneath the shoulders. You can walk your feet in a little ways, making room though for your torso. And then we'll inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale for halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. And this time you can spring load the legs and rise all the way up to stand, coming into your standing mountain pose. Moving anything that's possibly in your way out of your way. And next we're going to practice a star pose and a goddess pose. So you might like your blocks in front of you. We're going to be facing the long edge of the mat. And you can dial your toes out to point towards the corners of the mat. From here, we'll bring the hands right to the rib cage, flare your fingertips wide, and then like jazz hands, you can reach your hands out towards the corners of the mat. See if you can shine that radiant jewel from your heart center, and then allow all of your energy, call it back to you, and feel that surge of energy coming to your feet, to your hands, lighting up through the heart. And then just like that idea of spring cleaning, we're going to get rid of anything that no longer serves us. So you can bring your elbows into goalposts, start to bend into the knees, and then come into any style of squat you like for goddess. And we can also use the breath here to come into a lion's breath. So you might stick out the tongue and roar. Let it all out, anything that no longer serves you. We'll inhale for our star. Exhale. Goddess. Inhale for star. Exhale for goddess. And then you can land your hands on your knees and maybe lean forward. You can dip your right shoulder down towards your left knee, finding a little twist. Inhale to lengthen back to center, and then exhale, dip to the other side. And maybe a little bit of dipping action side to side. From here, you can walk your hands down to your blocks, and then let's spread the heels wider now so your feet are more parallel. You can inhale to lengthen your spine, and then exhale, fold forward any amount, maybe walking your hands out in front like a wide-legged downward dog or forward fold. You might take a moment to shake your head. No. Nod your head yes. Thinking about letting go of what no longer serves you to make room and space to welcome in new opportunities. And then we'll walk the hands underneath the shoulders. You can plant the right hand underneath the face, either on the block at any setting, any level, or on the ground, and then bring your left hand to your hip and start to peel your left shoulder up, maybe gazing up towards the sky. Exhale, we'll bring it back to neutral, and option to weave that's the left hand. The left hand under and across, reaching towards your right foot. And maybe you want to try this a few more times. Inhaling to peel the left shoulder open for a twist. Exhaling to reach underneath the body like thread the needle. Maybe once more. And then we'll come back to center. Take a breath here. Make any adjustments you need, maybe to your feet, to your stance. And we're going to change sides. So you can plant the left hand, underneath the face. Bring the right hand to the hip. Peel the right shoulder up and open as you gaze upward. Exhale. Twist it underneath, weaving the hand underneath the body. And just 2 more times at your own pace. Inhale to lift. Exhale to thread the needle. And then you'll come back to center. You can heel toe your feet in. Bring them back to center underneath the hips. And bend the knees slightly to lift yourself up. And we'll come to our standing mountain pose. Tadasana. Bring your hands to your sides. Soften your gaze or close down your eyes. Bring your awareness back into your heart center. And then when you're ready, you can blink the eyes open. We're going to make our way back down to the ground, back down to our seat, and we'll eventually come to our back. We're going to do figure 4 to stretch through the hips. So if you do have a wall space or a piece of furniture you want to use, you might, on your way down, just be close to that. It'll be easier to make your way towards that. So I'm just going to come to this side. Go ahead and find yourself in a downward dog. That feels good. You might take a few rounds of breath there. Whenever you're ready, you can always land the knees, come to your seat, or maybe take a moment to pause sitting on your heels in hero's pose. When you're ready, we're going to come onto our seat and play around with a boat pose. So you could start to shimmy. I'm going to come close to the couch for this so that eventually when I land, I'll be able to do my figure four with the support of the couch. So you can reach your arms forward, have your feet on the ground, start to lean the torso back. You can always hook onto the back of your thighs for support. Maybe you want to bring your feet up onto the couch, using your core strength. Then whenever you feel ready, you can roll onto your back, bring your feet up onto support. And one of my favorite ways to kind of close class is with a figure four. Now you can always do a pigeon instead. We're kind of getting at the same area. So if you're using the support of the couch or a wall, if I didn't have the couch here, I would be right up against the wall with my feet onto that support. Then you can extend your left leg long, bring your right ankle onto your left thigh, and then draw the shape in towards the body. If you want to deepen the stretch, you might kind of like an earthworm, just wriggle yourself a little side to side to kind of get closer to the support, and that's going to bring the shape in towards the body. Of course, you can always reach down and grab hold behind your left thigh, drawing the shape in. But I rather like the support of the chair so I can allow my whole entire upper body to relax into the support of the earth. To deepen this stretch, you might try flexing your toes toward your knee and then energetically or physically pressing the right knee away from the body. See if you can allow yourself an opportunity to soften and relax. Allow your breath to make its way to any areas of sensation, possibly circling the hip with gratitude. You can imagine yourself maybe rocking the shape a little side to side, just like gently rocking a baby. Maybe finding a gentle massage for the low back. And then we'll come back to stillness. You can extend both legs long. Take a moment to rotate the ankles, stretch the feet. Notice any differences from left to right. And then we'll get ready for the other side, bringing the left ankle onto the right thigh and then hugging the shape into the body for figure four on the left. If you happen to notice any differences from left to right, you might see if you can offer yourself curiosity, compassion, and kindness. Maybe you want to gently rock this shape a little side to side. Notice if you can picture a fountain at your heart center. Allow it to overflow with gratitude, and then see if you can send that gratitude down to circle the left hip joint. Whenever you're ready, you can release this side, and then maybe you take a moment to really cozy up towards this support and find a gentle inversion, giving yourself time to rest your legs either on a chair, on a couch, or if you're at a wall space, you can shimmy right up to the wall space and have your legs resting up the wall. Another option would be to take the strap and bring it around the legs to tie the legs together, just to give yourself a gentle bind so that you have less effort, especially if your legs are up the wall. It can be a lot of effort to hold them there. So maybe bringing the strap around the thighs to just draw them together could allow you to relax. I don't find that as necessary on the couch. So we'll just take a moment to allow yourself to find this gentle inversion. One analogy I've heard from one of my teachers in terms of this kind of gentle inversion with legs up a chair or up a wall is just thinking about how we can change our perspective. So maybe we can give ourselves permission to store this idea of an inversion away anytime we're feeling stuck. Maybe we're in a specific mood and we want to try to just change things up, and we turn ourselves upside down and give ourselves permission to rest. See if you can start to let go of your effort by smoothing out your eyelids, softening through your face, your jaw, allowing your shoulders a moment to rest. Feel the support all around you as you let go. You're welcome to stay right here in your gentle inversion for a while longer, or maybe even the rest of your practice today. Maybe as your final resting pose, corpse pose, shavasana. Maybe you allow those busy thoughts to float by just like clouds passing overhead without judgment or criticism. Allow yourself to practice letting them go, observing them and practicing non-attachment. Rather than planning ourselves, what if we practiced unplanning ourselves? Instead of striving to become someone lovable, what if we loved ourselves fiercely as we are? Instead of managing ourselves, what if we loosened the reins? The question remains for us to answer: can we be pure with ourselves in each moment? Being pure with ourselves means we are not afraid of our thoughts or our feelings. We don't have to hide anything from ourselves. Matthew Sanford, speaking from the experience of an accident that left him paralyzed from the waist down, says, "I am not afraid of my sadness. My sadness is an incredible gift that allows me to be with people who are suffering without trying to fix them." Purity asks that we show up in one place at one time. That means that our head and heart are unified. Our hearts, our thoughts, our actions, our speech are congruent, and that we are in the present moment. The practice of purity asks us to slow down and do one thing at a time. Purity embodies the slow steadiness and integrity necessary to give all of our attention to one thing at a time. As we practice slowing down and giving each thing our undivided attention, we will find ourselves more integrated and more pure with the moment. Hurrying, multitasking, and busyness, all symbols of success in our culture, are killers of purity. The practice of Saucha, purity, of cleansing ourselves and cleansing our ability to be with each moment. As we begin to lose the heaviness of waste and clutter, we begin to feel lighter, more spacious, and expansive. Our bodies become more alive. Our minds become more clear. Our hearts become more compassionate. You can begin to deepen your breath. Feel free to stay in your final rest as long as you'd like. But if you do feel like reawakening the body now, as you deepen your breath, you can start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Gently rotate your wrists and your ankles. And then see about taking a nice long body stretch from your fingertips to your toes. And when you're ready, go ahead and roll onto one side, finding yourself cradled in a fetal position. Take some long, deep breaths there. And then when you feel ready, you can press yourself up into a seat, inviting your hands to meet at your heart center in a gesture of gratitude, Anjali Mudra. It's such an honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to guide you through your practice. You can allow your head to gently bow towards the wisdom of your loving heart. Thank you for being with me, sharing this time together. The light in me sees and honors the light in each and every one of you. Let me know if you have any thoughts or